The Thrivehood podcast is a relevant life roadmap for boys and young men who want to thrive as they mature into manhood. I'll be your host, Tim Williams, and welcome to Thrivehood. Hey guys, welcome back into another episode, another edition, call it whatever you want. I don't care what you can call it, whatever you want. I'm just glad that you're here and that you're tuning us in and giving me an opportunity to maybe share with you a little bit. If you're not familiar with Thrivehood, it's very simple. I am directing this podcast to boys 11, 12 years old, all the way up through young men, early 20s, to help them as they prepare for adulthood, going into manhood. It's as simple as that. Life skills, some life lessons, some experiences that maybe I've had. I sort of keep my eye on current events and what's taking place. And once in a while, I'll pull in some stories that maybe are making some headlines and speak to that. In every case, what I'm trying to accomplish is I'm trying to move the discussion to practical applications for you young men out there to help you grow and to move into a healthy life as you get older. It's as simple as that. And I know that we have a number of demographics that listen to this. I know there's senior citizens listening to this. There's single moms listening to this. I just found out there's teenage girls that listens to this, middle-aged men, all across the board. So obviously I am not excluding anybody. I want everybody and anybody that wants to listen to be a part of this, because you can also get the word out and get the news out to these young men to help them. So that's sort of the whole goal if you're new to this. Do you know your self-worth? That is the theme for today's episode. And I want you to think about this for a minute. I want to set this up, use a little bit of an analogy before we dive into maybe some takeaways from today's episode. A dollar bill. Think of a dollar bill. Maybe if you've got one, you can hold it in your hand, right? And just track with me for a few minutes. So that dollar bill, when that dollar bill was minted, the first moment it came off the minting machine, if that's what you want to call it, and it was given to the very first person, maybe that dollar bill was given to somebody, man or woman, boy, girl, who knows, and it was put into a person's wallet or pocketbook or pocket. That dollar bill had a value attached to it, and that value was $1. Now, if we take that dollar bill, and let's say that we were the ones that got that dollar bill first, okay? Maybe you even pull a dollar bill out, like I said, and you're taking a look at it. And we can pretend, for example, that it's the brand new dollar bill that you just got. And we want to look at that, and we want to take that dollar bill, and we're going to go to, McDonald's, and we're going to buy a Coke. And we're going to give that dollar bill to the cashier, and she's going to put that into her register. How much is that dollar bill worth then? It's worth $1, right? It's worth $1. And then a customer or two or three later come in, and maybe they happen to pay with cash, and that cashier takes that dollar bill out of her register, and she hands that to that customer as change, and that dollar bill is now in someone else's pocketbook. Well, how much is that dollar worth? It's worth $1. Just keep tracking with me here. I'm going to make a point in a few minutes. Maybe that person takes the dollar bill and, they buy something else with it, and it goes to someone else. How much is that dollar worth then? Well, it's worth $1. And that dollar can exchange hands several times over its life. Many, many, many times. That dollar bill can be used for good. It can be used for just needs that are being met for groceries or at a restaurant like we talked about, or it could be used for good, maybe giving that to the poor or, tithing in your local church. It could also be used for not so good, right? It could be used for drugs or alcohol, or in a number of situations where maybe that dollar bill shouldn't be used, and it would be advisable not to use that dollar bill in those situations. During all of that time, how much is that dollar bill worth? It's worth $1. What if you throw the dollar bill on the floor? What if you step on it and smash it and mush it? What if you bury that dollar bill? It's still worth a dollar, right? What if you take that dollar bill and you crunch it up and you throw it in the trash, and you pick the trash up and you throw it out in the dumpster? The trash man comes and picks it up and hauls it off to some big landfill in New Jersey. I don't know, wherever landfills are. And it sits there for the rest of its life until it's degraded to nothing. How much is that dollar bill worth? That dollar bill is worth, and its value continues to be the same no matter how it's treated, no matter what way it's being used, no matter whether it's being used for good or for evil, no matter if someone treats it with respect and dignity or if someone throws it on the ground and treats it like dirt. No matter how it's being used or abused, that dollar bill knows its value. It is not shaken or moved or interrupted by anything external. Okay? Are you starting to get the picture here, guys? That dollar bill, from the moment it came off the assembly line, the mint factory that it was created, I may be saying that wrong, but you get my point, until the moment that it is burned up or it's shredded to pieces, that dollar bill knows its worth the entire time it's in existence. And that is what this episode is about. It's you knowing your value regardless of all of the outside pressures, the peer pressures, the influences, the things you see and that you hear and that you're around, the way you've been raised, all of these inputs, regardless of all of that, you need to know what your self-worth is. So the first question you might be asking is, okay, why do I need to know what my self-worth is? What exactly do you mean by that, Tim? So let's talk about that. First, a false sense of you knowing who you are will guide you down roads that you never intended to travel in the first place. The scripture says that a double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. You need to have an immovable foundation at the start. At the beginning of your life, regardless of where you've come from, whether it's been good or bad up until this point right now in your life, it is important, it is almost imperative, in my opinion, that you need to truly know what your value is. And if you don't, you will begin being moved and motivated or demotivated by what you see, by this or by that, or by what you see or by what you hear or what someone does. And that will lead you down roads, as I said, that you never intended to travel, because you don't have a strategy in place. There's not a strategy as to what exactly am I worth in this world, right? Another reason why I think it's important to know your value is it weakens you if you don't. What others have, what others seek, what others desire begins what I would call the comparing process. We begin to see what it is we don't have, right, in relation to our situation in our life and our circumstances, right? And what happens, and what tends to happen, is we begin to question ourselves. And then you begin moving into self-doubt. You have self-esteem issues. That takes you down so many roads and so many paths, guys, that is not healthy. And it could lead you down a road that begins to weaken you and make you less of a man than what you were intended to be. And finally, I would say, by not having a value, by not knowing what your self-worth is, you place value on worthless items and on worthless expectations and desires. You're going to be influenced by somebody that's smarter than you, richer than you, better looking than you, more in the know, as they say, than you are. Someone that maybe has more talent, an athlete or a musician. The guy that has the girl, the cute cheerleader in high school. He's got the cool car. He's going to be going to, top-rate AAA college, the Ohio State or wherever, Yale or Harvard, I don't know, whatever you think is a top school in this country. They might have the opportunity to be able to move on and work for their dad, and their dad is saying, once you finish school, buddy, you come back and you'll be able to take over my business and be a multimillionaire. You see, we begin to place value on those things that are worthless. And what is sad, and what this could end up becoming and turning into, is, as it relates to placing value on worthless items, when we get to the point where we're totally lost, we really don't know what our self-worth is and what our value is. Life can become more difficult. There are more challenges that are coming at us. And all of a sudden, you've heard this story 1,000 times. They turn to alcohol, drugs, sex, rebellion, crime. I mean, the laundry list of the road that can take you down is endless. 2 Corinthians 10:12 says that we do not dare to classify or compare ourselves with some who have commended themselves. When they measure themselves by themselves and compare themselves with themselves, they are not wise. So you may ask, okay, Tim, what exactly does that mean in English? Okay, I get it. It's simply this, and I just mentioned this a minute ago. In comparing ourselves to others, we're fools. I mean, it's not wise. It's not the right thing to do. Why is that? You could put 10 guys, 10 teenagers in a line and ask them a little bit about their life up to the point of whatever age they are, 15, 16, 17, whatever. And you would be shocked at the road that they traveled from the moment they can remember the first time anything happened to them until their age that they're at now. Every one of them, all 10 paths, all 10 journeys up to that point in their life would be completely different. So if we think that our value, our self-worth, should be based on others, how is that even logical? How does that even make any sense? If all 10 of those young men have got a completely different path, and we already know, based on that their path going forward in their future is going to be equally diverged into different ways and different channels. So to make a decision that we're going to base what our self-value and our self-worth is on others, you see, guys, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So the next question, and maybe the biggest question and the most important question here today, is how do I figure out what my self-worth is? I don't know that I can explain it all here in a short podcast, and that isn't necessarily what my episodes are about. But I can start you off this way, and I can say this. Begin building your character traits. Begin building those fundamentals in your life that you won't sway from. Start there. Start with building your character. Well, what is character? It's interesting. I sent a Facebook question out to a number of people a few weeks ago, and I asked that very question. I said simply, what is character to you? And I got a wide range of responses, from truthfulness to honesty to integrity to dependability to honor to courage to nobility. The list went on and on and on and on. And it didn't surprise me, but what it told me was there is an enormous amount of opportunities for us to slowly work on each area of our life if we decide to do that. We don't have to do it if we don't want to. But if we want to, if we want to try to make our lives and ourselves a little better and make this world a little better, why not take one of those attributes that makes up a good character and to begin focusing on that? Begin focusing on those traits. So that's where I would start, guys. Do you know what your self-worth is? Well, how about deciding what integrity is in your life and apply that? And when you come across a circumstance or a situation where that is important in the decision making, rely on that. What does integrity say about that decision? What does integrity mean to you? What about truthfulness? If there's a situation that comes up and there needs to be truthfulness, right? That's your self-worth. If it's honor, if it's courage, if it's whatever that trait is under the heading of a good character, you are now beginning to build and have building blocks that are beginning to set you up to know what your self-worth is. That's where you start, because as you begin to know who you are and what you're about and what you stand for, all of the external pressures and all of the external challenges that come, and whether or not you're good enough or you're smart enough or you're good looking enough or you're able to handle this or you can't handle, none of those things will matter if your foundation is solid, if you know who you are. And I would add to that, how about throwing a good helping of a relationship with Christ in there too? I think that might not be a bad idea. That probably would be where I would start, actually. I think it's important for you to know your self-worth. It means the world to me when I have impacted somebody, when I've done something good, when I've made strides in my life, when I've made strides in my life personally, when I've helped somebody and I've gotten a nice pat on the back, when I had an opportunity to make a choice and I made the right choice, regardless of whether I got accolades or not. I knew internally and inside of me, I know who I am. I know that that decision that I made was the right decision, based on my moral compass, on the things that I know are of value to me and mean the world to me. Very, very, very important. I hope that you guys will continue to strive. I hope that you will continue to look for opportunities to grow your character and find out who you are. Look, if you don't have this, you will be swayed by something, right? I think it was Winston Churchill, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's Winston Churchill that said, if you don't stand for anything, you'll fall for everything. And I think that is so true. I really do. I believe that's part of the problem in America. I believe that's part of the issue that you young men and young women too have. You don't know who you are. You don't know what you stand for. You don't know your value. All right. You are the future leaders of our country. You can think about that, right? You weren't born. It wasn't a haphazard event that you just happened to be born now. It was divinely important for you not only to be born, but for you to be born now, for you to be here now, not just to be here, but in this particular moment in time. There was an important event or series of events that you needed to be involved in as you go through the next stage in the several years of your life from here. And in order to do that, I want you to know your self-worth. I want you to know what your value is here. I think it's important for you to know that. And I think it will settle some of the nerves and some of the questions that you have as you continue to grow up. Until next time, guys, stay strong.